Hello everyone, I'm Wade. Today we're going to be talking about Africa, and so we've invited a special guest to discuss and share with us some of her experience and her background. So please, would you introduce yourself for us?
Hi guys, my name is Divamile from the Kingdom of Eswatini. Very excited to be here, especially to talk about Africa.
Yeah.
This is my first English interview, believe it or not.
Wow.
So pretty excited to see what we will come up with.
Mm-hmm. Exciting, okay. So Divamile, will you tell us a little bit more on what brought you to Taiwan? How long have you been here? And yeah, just share a little bit of that.
Yeah, okay. So I've been in Taiwan for 21 years, and
Wow.
I was born in Eswatini, but at the age of 8, our family was called to be diplomats in New York. So my father was representing Swaziland in the United Nations. So I've lived in America for 7 years. And then after that, we moved to Taiwan. And since I've been here residing for 22 years,
Yeah.
so you would say I'm Taiwanese.
Yeah, for sure.
But I love it here. I recently resigned from my teaching job at Mackay College. I was a full-time lecturer there for 11 years.
Wow.
And
What were you teaching?
I was teaching mostly foreign languages.
Foreign languages.
But I did a little bit of drama, business, English, and communications. And I'm glad I had that opportunity because that's what I studied in uni, both business and communications. But yeah, which now I currently co-own a company with my sister. It's called Lihia.
Lihia. What does that mean?
Lihia means covering.
Covering in
Well, it's actually our traditional attire, which is the sarong that we wear for our clothing. I'm wearing one on my head right now, so cover
very
yourself.
cool. Yeah.
So we sort of use that to represent our company. We want to be inclusive and just cover any stories through product design.
Wow, very cool. So I personally, for those who don't know, I am also from Africa, but South Africa.
Yeah,
And
we're
so
neighbors.
we're actually neighbors, yeah, which is really cool.
Love it.
So, I want to talk a little bit about the misconception that some people might have. Because again, I think it comes down to exposure. People know about Africa and they might know about Eswatini, they might know about South Africa, but there are still misconceptions because what you see might represent your whole understanding of that country. When I was, whether that be here in Taiwan sometimes, or even when I was studying in the States, people would come up to me and they would, be like, hey, where are you from? And I'm like, oh, South Africa. And then they're, immediately animals, right? There's all the animals roaming in Africa. So they're like, do you see animals outside your window? And do you and I'm like, no, not really. I mean, there's safaris.
The lion.
Yeah, there's the safaris, and we go out and we go see animals, which there are, and they're very cool. But no, we don't just have animals roaming around. I mean, when you're driving from city to city, you might see, herd of cows or ostriches or something.
It's pretty normal.
Yeah, but sometimes I joke with the people, and I tell them, what, if I'm running late to school, I take the cheetah because it's fast. And if I want to stroll, I just climb on the elephant and, get around. And so yeah, it's just very, it's funny when people have these misconceptions or they don't really know. And so they ask these questions. Yeah. And sometimes, they think, yeah, you look like Mowgli, so it makes sense, And I'm like, no, I'd rather be Tarzan, but it's okay. But have you ever encountered any of these misconceptions?
Of course, but I do love that you've joked about it
Yes.
because it could be frustrating. First of all, I've always said Africa is not a country, it's a continent, right?
Yeah.
And we have 54 countries
Right.
which are in the continent of Africa. And so it's nice to really have the knowledge about, okay, so you're from Swaziland, what other countries are in Swaziland?
Yes.
So I always have to explain to people that Africa is a continent. Africa is a continent. Repeat
Asia.
after me.
Yeah.
Just
Africa
like
is
Asia.
a continent. Asia
Yeah.
is a continent, yeah.
Right, but I think one weirdest comment that was really not offensive, but I just thought it was a turn off was someone asked me, oh, how come you're not as dark as most Africans, you know?
Yeah. And then also I think sometimes people, they think in Africa it's just all African people and black people. I'm like, no, actually, it's quite diverse, especially South Africa. full, you know, we're called the Rainbow Nation. So it's, I mean, all different cultures. And so it's quite a shock actually to people.
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, you shared some stuff about Africa, but do you have any other interesting facts that people might not know of?
I don't know how many languages you speak, but I'm from Swaziland.
Oh.
I speak Siswati and English, but I also had to learn Afrikaans. And
You guys also had to
Zulu.
learn Afrikaans?
Yes, in school.
Really?
And Xhosa. So
Wow, you covered a lot of our languages.
Yeah.
Is that also official languages for Eswatini?
no. So the official language is Siswati, but
yeah.
in school you had to graduate passing English.
Sure.
So English would be the official language.
Yes, and that's obviously due to like, colonization
Right,
and all those things. But so 2 languages?
2 languages mainly, and then you can choose another one.
Okay.
Which is, I didn't get to learn Afrikaans
Okay.
because I moved, but that would have been my other choice of languages to learn. Which is great because then I would understand a lot more of German and
Yes.
Dutch.
Mhm.
Yes.
So Afrikaans is actually a language that's part of South Africa's culture. South Africa has 11 official languages. And so Afrikaans is part of that, and that comes from the Dutch descendant.
Right.
You know, so again, it sounds a little bit like Dutch, a little bit like German. So I had to learn that in school actually when I grew up. But I was back in South Africa when I finished primary school here in Taiwan. So by the time I got back there, I kind of had to play catch up.
Yeah. That makes
I
sense.
honestly, it's sad to admit, but I didn't know that we had all these other languages in South Africa. Because when I grew up, you know, we'd visit South Africa and everyone would speak in English.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's so cool that we have like Afrikaans, Zulu, Xhosa, all these other tribal
Setswana.
languages. And yeah, it's just so diverse.
It's diverse, and it's so much fun every time I go back home
Yes.
at the airport, just starting to pick up the other languages.
Yeah.
It really feels like, wow, I'm closer to home. And in most movies, they use Zulu.
Yes.
Well, The Lion King,
Sure.
Black Panther. So I have pride in myself, like,
Yes.
oh, I understand
I know
what
what they're
just
saying.
said.
Yeah.
So learn Zulu, people.
Let's move on to maybe your country specifically. So I have to admit, when before I knew it as Eswatini, I knew it growing up as Swaziland.
Yes.
And that was the most, you know, common name that we've used. And I believe when I was really young, I think we visited Swaziland.
Yeah.
And I remember my parents just saying, wow, what a beautiful country. And again, because South Africa is so close, we share the same border. Because you guys are landlocked, right?
We're landlocked.
You're
and-
landlocked between Mozambique and South Africa. So I remember like being able to travel to the countries was very cool and easy and accessible. But can you tell us, like, maybe first, why did you guys change your name?
Well, regarding the name, same as me, I grew up knowing Eswatini as Swaziland,
Right,
the Kingdom
yeah.
of Swaziland.
Yeah, the Kingdom of Swaziland.
And obviously that's in English. And Eswatini has always been Eswatini.
I
It's
see.
obviously a mother tongue. And so
Okay.
we called Swaziland as Eswatini. And it's always been in our exercise books, our passports. I think it just became more official in 2018 or 19. Because the king's birthday, he was turning 50.
Okay.
And our country's independence was also 50 years.
Wow. So he was born the year that you established independence?
Yes, yeah.
Wow.
Isn't that nice?
That's amazing.
So the timing
It's meant
of
to
it.
be, yeah.
Right. So I think they just made a huge celebration out of it and just make it official. You know what? Let's go back to the origin of our name of our nation.
So, you know, I've also heard that Swaziland tends to get mixed up with another European country.
Yes,
Switzerland.
Switzerland.
Because it's like, are you saying Switzerland or are you saying Swaziland? Like, it's so similar. And so I've even heard people refer to it as like the Africa, you know, Switzerland.
Yeah.
But maybe that's another way to distinct yourself.
I think that also helps.
Sure.
As much as pronouncing it Eswatini, it's not an English word,
Right.
so you have to also get it right. I did take notes. Obviously, actually, Eswatini is the only absolute monarchy in Africa,
Okay.
standing right now,
Wow.
and one of the few in the entire world.
Wow. So out of the 54 countries in Africa,
We are the
only
only
one.
Yes.
Wow.
And we don't have a democracy. The king, Sobhuza, the current king's father, he is actually the longest ruling monarch in the whole world.
In the world.
In the world.
How long is that?
He ruled for 82 years. As we know, the Queen Mother of the UK.
Wow. Yeah.
The Jubilee we just recently celebrated, she's 70 years.
Wow. So she's
he
still got to play
passed
catch up.
Yes, Queen Mother.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I doubt a lot of people know about that.
No.
I think people just immediately assume it's the queen.
Yes, yeah.
Wow,
So
amazing.
then his son, Kim Swati, the third, he was the youngest to be appointed as king.
How old was he?
18.
18?
At 18 years old.
Wow.
So
and you
you-
have to be like
King.
King.
Not
What
just
was I
the
doing when I was
title.
in 18? I was 18, like goofing around outside the
Right,
fence.
trying to figure things out, right?
You gotta be a king.
Right.
That meant that he had to like rule and like make decisions.
Right,
all-
because he is the head of state, so he has to look over obviously the legislator, the ministers, and so on. So it's not just like I'm king with
yeah.
title.
Yeah.
That was special to know. And another thing that stood out was we in Swaziland actually have the second largest rock in the world.
Rock.
Yes, Sibebe Rock.
Like-
That is a huge rock,
rock,
up
okay.
on a mountain.
Okay.
It follows right close to Australian rock. I think it's Uhuru Rock in Australia. It's close to the Aborigines mountain area. But it was really amazing to know that our country, Swaziland,
Yeah,
small little
so small,
country,
yeah.
carries that history.
Wow.
So Sibebe Rock is definitely a huge tourist site. And of course, we all know the Big Five.
Yes.
South Africa, I know, is well known of
Very well known for Big Five.
Yes.
Which are?
which are rhino,
Okay, we're testing ourselves
Come
here.
on, the lion.
Rhino, lion, buffalo,
buffalo, no, not hippo,
leopard.
leopard, and
Rhino.
oh yeah,
Did you say
I already
rhino?
said, I said rhino.
You
so
said
one
rhino?
more, yeah.
Elephant.
Elephant. How did we
Come on,
forget elephant?
elephant.
The Queen Mother is called
Exactly.
the elephant,
elephant?
and the
Okay.
king lion. So I should know
Okay.
this. Added that too.
Do you know why it's called the Big Five?
Well, I would say, are they the core of the wild
So
animals?
actually, I had to look this up as well. Mentioned, so the big five, like we said, are the lion, the leopard, black rhino, and the African bush elephant, as well as the African buffalo.
Yes.
And these terms were coined by the big game hunters, right? So they're saying that it refers to the 5 most difficult animals in Africa to hunt on foot. So that's
Yeah.
why it's.
Which
so I like
that's
that.
why they
It's quite
still
interesting.
exist.
Yeah.
Because difficult
And
to
they're magnificent.